This episode is proudly supported by Pepicea Australian Cultured Butter.
The Pepicea all new Australian butter sheets. Everything we've learned over the last 12 years, we've put into making this new butter sheet. Combined with a brand spanking new shiny machine from Switzerland, we're able now to produce this beautiful butter sheet that's so easy to laminate with. So it's pliable, it's very fresh. If you're an Australian baker buying our butter sheets, they're made weekly. The formulation, it's a beautiful unsalted butter that will work for savoury and sweet. I think it's a perfect balance there. The bakers and pastry chefs that are using it are just raving about it.
For more information, go to pepicea.com.au.
And you can't please everybody, but you can please, if people come to your restaurant, they've gone out of their way, look after them. That's your clientele.
This is the Deep in the Weeds podcast. I'm Anthony Huckstep. Over the last few years, we've talked to many guests in Brisbane about the evolution of the food scene, but there are some that built the foundation for what has emerged, who also continue to thrive in one of the country's most exciting cities. What does it take to maintain longevity in an ever-changing restaurant industry? Tony Percuoco is the chef and owner of Tartufo in Brisbane. Tony, how are you?
Good, thanks. How are you?
I'm good. It's good to catch up with you. It's been a few years since I've seen you. How are things at the moment?
Oh, look, between cyclones and floods and things, it's a lot of fun up here.
Well, you've seen a lot of things, particularly in food, change in Brisbane over the years. You've had your restaurant for about 15 years now. How do you see the Brisbane sort of culinary landscape at the moment?
Look, Brisbane is really grown up. It's been like seeing, the child starting his first steps. I moved up to the Gold Coast from Sydney 30-odd years ago. My restaurants were all on the Gold Coast. And 15 years ago, look, the Gold Coast is absolutely beautiful. And I actually still live down here, only because I can't afford Brisbane's river, the little brown snake. It's too expensive. Love being on the water. But, when, Gold Coast, very much a tourist destination, so there was times of the year when we were very quiet. And this has changed also down here at the moment. There is a dining scene on the Gold Coast. But going back to Brisbane, there was a romance 15 years ago. When we moved to Sydney in the 70s, that beautiful, Sydney in the 70s, 71, I think there was 1.7 million people in Sydney. So there was that gorgeous romance, I'm not saying anything about Sydney now, it's absolutely gorgeous, but overrun by everything. And 30-odd years ago, I had a restaurant in Surrey Hills, so I decided to move up to Queensland. But then going back to Tartufo 14 years ago, there was that beautiful romance that Sydney had in the 70s, and that's what I fell in love with. So that was the start of my love affair, call it. So I sold my business down here. Purely because I just needed to do a bit more. I needed to be busy 12 months of the year. And we found Tartufo in Fortitude Valley. And again, reminiscent of the beautiful era. Tartufo used to be Belle Epoque, run by the gorgeous Emporium Hotel. He really captured the essence of was a French brasserie, and it was designed and copied after Balthazar in Spring Street in New York City. So that gorgeous reminiscent brasserie, that beautiful era, and very much what we had in Italy. So my eyes automatically just popped when I saw this restaurant, and still remember having the meeting in. He wanted to sell me one of his other restaurants. And I was looking around this one, and he said, "Oh, you like this?" I said, "Oh, yeah." I said, "But I can't afford it." Full stop. Look, it was that started, and basically I had to change a couple of things. I had to make it Italian. I had to personalize it. But let's face it, Italy and France. We always argue about our food, but our fashion, our restaurants, even the architecture is very, very similar. So, yeah, I made it into an Italian restaurant.
And that was amazingly about 15 years ago. What has that period of time been like? Because the evolution of the food scene's been so incredible in Brisbane, and you've been there that whole time in the last 15 years. What's it been like for you to watch, and what have you seen changed?
Oh, gee, the growth has been unbelievable. Look, there was a handful of people that were really dominating the market. The biggest restaurants were people like, John Kilroy. I think he had Cha Cha Cha, Jellyfish. There was Matthew Hill Smith with the waterfront restaurant. Look, I'm probably going to forget a few people, but there were so many beautiful people. Then let's not forget Restaurant 2, Philip Johnson. Those days, I was still on the Gold Coast when he won Restaurant of the Year with Echo. Javier from Moda. You had a handful of people, that really were dominating. So when I came up, and 15 years ago, it was easy for me to integrate and be welcomed, from my restaurant Fellini on the Gold Coast at Marina Mirage. I went up. So all these guys all of a sudden welcomed me, and it was like a little tiny family. But then after that, the growth has been, oh my God, we have got some beautiful, beautiful, beautiful chefs. Some have come and gone, but some of them, look, Agnes, I mean, what can I say about Ben? Ben is a master. Ben he's a genius, and his food and what he's running. And he's touching on everything. He's touching on Japanese. He's touching on, quite a few different Italian. He's doing everything, and he really deserves it. There's been some other beautiful chefs coming up. Short Grain. That beautiful Thai. I mean, I had the pleasure of dining there a couple of months ago, and it's a gorgeous little dining room. So all these people they were in Sydney, they were in Melbourne, they've all come up, they've all changed and really changed. The dining scene is alive and well in Brisbane. Hotels like Carlisle, they won some big award. All of this combined has been absolutely incredible.
Well, what sort of impact has it had on you and what you do with Tartufo over the years as the evolution has happened? Have you sort of changed what you do, or have you stuck true to sort of your ideals?
No. I have to change quite a lot. So we went from basically we were a restaurant, and look, it was Gourmet Traveller mentioned us, and it was absolutely beautiful, those accolades, and we were getting chef's hats and whatever. But then the reality financially, after so many years, in the industry and having my own businesses, it just wasn't there. So I had to redesign. So we first started with bar snacks, and I thought, okay, so bar snacks, let's go. Then after that, I put a pizza oven in. Now, I'm actually going to make you laugh. I don't know how to make pizzas. I employ pizza makers. I still haven't put a pizza in the oven. I'm a chef. I'm not kidding. It's quite embarrassing, and I will say it out loud. I employ people that know what they're doing in the pizza. Apparently it's not hard. I said, but leave me alone. But there was that. It was like, oh my God. I remember one night I was looking through the security cameras, and there was all this kerfuffle at the front. And I went to the front. My wife is in front of house. And I said, Kutana, what's going on? She goes, these people are here to dine. I said, Kutana, we've got a queue at the restaurant. She goes, these people are here to dine. I said, what do you mean dine? Well, they were there for pizza, for food. And it was just like somebody turned on a tap. It changed the whole thing. And you know what? We used to have, right in the beginning, we had a sub, because the restaurant is very big. I can sit, I don't know, over 120. So we had one side for the pizza and one side for the a la carte. But it wasn't, and it was this, but then I had my regulars coming in, Tony, we want a pizza. I said, well, you have to sit over there. But no, we really want to sit over there. I said, no, I'm not going to bend the rules. You have to sit over there. But they were having a $500 bottle of wine with the pizza, God bless them. And so we had to integrate everything. But it was these changes that brought me over to, and yes, the clientele did change a little bit, don't get me wrong. But we have a beautiful, beautiful regular clientele. It was only this week with the cyclone. We closed. And Friday, Saturday, and Sunday this week, just yesterday, they were absolutely huge. And it was this beautiful clientele that didn't come out. And people have been doing posts about, go and support your local business. They all came out in droves. And I was about to actually do a little something on Instagram to go, thank you, you beautiful people. We didn't make it up, but we did make it up sort of thing. Not to the full extent, but, this is what, and Brisbane, they're very, very loyal. I mean, notwithstanding any other city in Australia, but they are loyal diners. And that's been the biggest difference.
I want to talk about Tartufo and your food and what you're doing these days a bit later on, but take us back to when you were young. Whereabouts did you grow up and what sort of role did food play for you?
Oh, my God. Well, basically, I was born in Naples and brought up in Naples. Dad, those days, in the restaurant industry. Armando in the restaurant industry. I grew up in restaurants. I was very young. We came to Australia. And basically, when you're young, I went to work at a local deli just after school. And then finally, just before I left school, late 73, when the Opera House, I was doing 1 day a week. So I was 14 and a half, and I was doing 1 day a week at the Sydney Opera House. And then when I turned 15, I actually went to work as an apprentice chef at the Opera House. So I basically was almost at the opening of the Opera House. But the role of food in the family, well, we grew up with, I would have been on a milk crate, I would have been standing up on top, and I would have been stirring the ragu while all the other children were playing outside. And if the ragu stuck to the side of the plate, well, the wooden stick, which is the Italian child pacifier, would be broken off. So, food played a very, very, very big part in my childhood, right through. So what can I say? It was inevitable. And at the ripe age of 15, I did, when I started my apprenticeship, I was at the East Sydney TAFE. Plus I was going to Broadway to try and get my higher school certificate. So right up until about 18. So look, I think it was meant to be. The funniest thing, what I was saying, my surname, Percuoco. Cuoco means cook. And so having my father, my brother, my two mentors, basically, especially my brother, Armando. Armando is the famous chef. I'm nothing, nowhere near him. But, it was quite funny because during my apprenticeship, I was a very young man. I did the Sydney Opera House, Sydney Regent, Sydney Hilton. Finally, Dad and Armando had a restaurant in Sydney. I don't know if you remember it, called Pulcinella in King's Cross. So I'm a very young, arrogant man, and I went in and I said, okay, I'm starting with the family, and, which section would you like me on? And my brother looked at me and he said, you got to go wash dishes. And I was crying for 2 weeks. I'm a chef. He goes, no, you're not. And that was it. This is. I think this is what made me who I am today. My stern brother, which I absolutely love and adore.
Tell us a little bit about the relationship with Armando. Is, as you mentioned, one of Australia's most well-known chefs. Do you have any stories of, you mentioned being a mentor. Is there anything that he passed on to you or experiences that you had that you can share?
Yes, of course. Look, the cuisine, it's actually quite funny, a lot of the dishes. And I keep on saying to people, my brother came up with this dish and I'm making money out of it. There's a few dishes on the menu which he taught me. And, that's my favorite thing. But right in the beginning, there was this rivalry with my father. I still remember Dad sitting down. Tony, Armando, will you stop arguing? I opened up a restaurant in Surrey Hills on Elizabeth Street, and he had partnership in a restaurant called Chianti, which was not opposite Senso Unico, but quite close. And this rivalry, but it was a friendly rivalry. We are brothers, but there was a little bit of fighting. So I think a little bit of professional jealousy. But then after that, and it's actually, it's been over 20 years now. That's, the rivalry just became this friendly banter. And at the moment, even he comes up to holiday on the Gold Coast and I cook for him and he doesn't say anything. And I'm thinking, oh my God, as if, well, what's going on? And he pays me compliments. And I say, oh my God, you don't have to teach me anymore. He said, well, you're almost there. So yes, all that. And yeah.
Take us back to that period of time. You mentioned your restaurant in Surrey Hills and the competition with Armando as well. What was it like sort of starting your own business and taking that period of time? Were there challenges running your own business compared to just being a chef?
Look, I was, I think one of the lucky ones. I've been through everything probably. So when I opened up my business, it was all fine to start. And then there was a little tiny problem, which was the recession we had to have. So I still remember paying 16.8% on my overdraft and 29.9% on the bank bills. 16.5% was not on the overdraft. 16.5 was my mortgage and 29.8 was the overdraft. So, and you can look up those things. It was actually, it'll be embedded in me for the rest of my life. When I sold everything, I was left with very little money. There were some weeks that we didn't have a wage. It was challenging, but I did go for 10 years. And that's when I said, no, I can't do this anymore. So that little money we had, then we moved up here. No, there was a lot of challenges. We were very, very lucky. I was lucky because I had a family that was in the restaurant industry. So basically, Pulcinella, I opened up a restaurant. Journalists came over to my restaurant, gave me a few write-ups. My interior designers was the beautiful George Friedman, Alan Jack and Corrier. They did a gorgeous job with my restaurant in Surrey Hills. We made, some pages and that was the print media those days. And then the food critics, they my God, you see your name on the paper. The next week, basically call security because you had a queue in the front. And that was how instant it was. And so I was lucky to come from a good name. But then I had to deliver as well. So there was a lot of work. And you know what? It's been, how can I explain it? Every restaurant owner will tell you we work probably on a 2% profit. And that's it. So it's more the passion that keeps us going. And so many times that people say to me, why do you do it? I say, what would you like me to do? Number one, I don't know how to do anything else. But number two, this weekend, it really touched my heart. It really touched my going outside. People being there, not only because they wanted to be there, because they want to help you. So look at your clientele, speak to them. They will tell you exactly what they want. And you know what? Sometimes not everybody's perfect. I will tell you the truth that, if there's a complaint, I will go out and I will speak to them. I'm not the one cooking everything. No, there's 8 of us in the kitchen. One could make a mistake. Listen to your clientele. Get off your high horse. Stop being such a prima donna. We're all prima donnas. The only thing we got missing is the stage because we would like to be actors, but we are. We got everything. But listen to your clientele. They will tell you exactly. And once in a while, have a look in your own backyard and you will see, oh my God, you made a mistake. Why don't we fix it? And that's it. So it's all these things combined, There will always be a war. There will always be. Hopefully we don't get another. What was it called? The sickness. COVID. I've got a blackboard upstairs which I'm going to frame for my grandchildren. I had the list of all my creditors, and in important, super important. Let's forget about it. I had 4 different things because I said to my wife, I said, we're going to lose our house. We've got no money in the bank. How long is this going to go for? We got through it. We're all still paying for it now. But it's all those hurdles. There will always be those hurdles, And when we talk about people opening up, you know what? I'll be honest with you. I wish I had another 4 or 5 restaurants in the center of the Calabar. That's what it's all about. I still remember, in Surrey Hills. We were 2 Italian restaurants, 2 meters apart, plus the Chianti up the road. And the more restaurants, the more people will go to that destination, the more successful you are. Embrace. There is no such thing as competition. Everybody does it. Every client goes to a restaurant because there's something they like. That's it. There's people that dislike things about us. That's fine. And you can't please everybody, but you can please, if people come to your restaurant, they've gone out of their way, look after them. That's your clientele.
10 years with your restaurant in Surrey Hills is an amazing feat for any restaurant. Do you have any fond memories of that period of time that you can share?
Oh, my God. Where do you want me to start? Where do you want me to finish? Look, those days, the rag trade was there. Everybody, every single designer, I was lucky enough to have come to my restaurant. Plus newspapers, News Limited was around the corner. So I had all the journalists, a lot of politicians, whether it was Gough, Margaret Whitlam, Bob Carr, every one of them used to come to the restaurant. It was that Surrey Hills was that upcoming sort of trendy. And it was right in the middle of everything. So we were very lucky. Memories, my God, have I got some beautiful memories. But that's the thing. It's the memory of the place where you are in. Everything becomes a memory. Then I had beautiful memories of my restaurant in Marina Mirage, for instance. And now I'm going to develop some beautiful memories of Fortitude Valley. But yeah, no, it's look, I don't know what it is. I think it's a bit of luck as well. Yes, I work hard, but I think it's a bit of luck. The name, again, I will stress the fact that Armando Percuoco put us on the map in Australia. I'm very lucky to be carrying exactly the same surname as him. But then again, I have to deliver the goods. So that's been the hard work.
The move to the Gold Coast, tell us about that period of time. Did it change you and your approach to your craft?
Yes. Well, I came up to the Gold Coast because I'd sold a restaurant in Surrey Hills. So basically came up here to do a little bit of consultancy. I was still very young, very eager. Friends of mine, they used to own Jamieson Street nightclub in Jamieson Street, actually. And they had properties in Hong Kong. So they wanted me to go to Hong Kong to open up a restaurant there. And I thought, oh, that could be a change. But basically came up here for 2 weeks. I did a consultancy for somebody to open up a restaurant. And I didn't know the Gold Coast existed, to be honest with you. And I looked around and I thought, this is not bad. So there was 30, oh God, I don't know, my mind, 30-something years ago. So I didn't end up going to Hong Kong, too far away, my children, whatever, that's whatever. So we came up here. And you know what? It was actually quite funny. When we arrived, I was ordering, rucola, rocket. So can I please have some, I opened up my first restaurant. No, can I please have some rocket? Oh, you mean the fancy lettuce? I said, yeah, the fancy lettuce. Can I get some mozzarella? Oh, yeah, the dried one and whatever. And I thought, come on, guys, please. It was a beautiful, so it was like an open book. Little challenges, not much. But again, having come from Sydney, the recession, everybody talking about constantly money, interest rates and everything else, getting up to the Gold Coast, I opened up my first little tiny restaurant underneath a building, small 50-seater, called Grissini. And all of a sudden we were, Marina Mirage, Marriott, they were sending us people. They heard this chef from Sydney came up, whatever, so this important chef. And they started sending me people. And you know what? None of them spoke about the recession. None of them. They were up here on holidays. They were up here to try and forget. And I thought, oh my God, this is really, really nice. And this is where we started. And still today, honestly, when people come up to the Gold Coast, they seem to be switching off. I look outside my window now and the sun is shining. It's actually beautiful. You know what I mean? So why shouldn't they feel that way? Because this is what the Gold Coast is all about. And that's where, yes, it was a challenge in a way because even things like seafood, we don't have a seafood market up here. And still today, believe me, we have a bit of problem. We've got some beautiful wholesalers. But I still remember bringing up fish, air freighting it up from Sydney, from my supplier in Sydney. And I'm not kidding. I mean, that was And people were seeing this thing going, oh my God, yes, yes. But believe it or not, this is the fish. They fish here, send it down to Sydney, and then I was buying it back up here, and I'm thinking, really? So yeah, that was the only challenges really I had. But then again, the Gold Coast started having this cafe society. Everybody here wakes up at 4:00 in the morning. They go for they're very healthy. So basically dinner, that's the only thing that changed. Dinner was at 5:30, and I thought, oh my God, in Sydney it was like 9:00. They used to come out, and 10:00 we'd still be serving food. We hear it sort of was changing a little bit, and it's still like that at the moment. You know, if you try and get people out at 7:30, oh no, that's too late. It's still exactly the same now, but changing of things. So there was those challenges. But that's, then it grew up. Then it became, well, they say, I think the Gold Coast or Surfers is the 7th largest city in Australia. Well, how many cities do we have? But Brisbane, again, it was that growth, that beautiful growth that I went through with all my restaurants.
Tell us about that period of time where you decided to stay in the Gold Coast but move the restaurant or start a restaurant, Tartufo, in Brisbane. Well, the distance and sort of a new market, what was that like for you?
Look, the market was actually going back quite a few years. So it was a city. There was a lot of businesses that used to come, like the business lunch, even though the FBT and everything else, there was a lot of business lunches that were happening at the restaurant, and you could actually see it. And then there was the celebrations, and people were, getting dressed up for like totally different than here, than the Gold Coast. I was back in the city. So there was this other growth now that I was going through. That was probably, I'm not saying I was going backwards, but I was going basically back to the future. And there was that change. And the clientele was just city clientele. I'm not saying that here there's rednecks or whatever. No, here they're just a little bit more relaxed, and that's the beauty. But where Brisbane, it's the city. It's and people do go a little bit faster than down here. So that was the biggest change.
You've had amazing success in different locations in Australia. Tell us a little bit about your food and how much it's changed. Are there any sort of dishes that have lasted the distance, say, or become real signatures of yours that you can tell us about?
Definitely. All right, there's one particular dish, the spatchcock, which my brother used to cook at Pulcinella. So basically spatchcock, and mind you, it's a grilled spatchcock that we do with a weight on it and pepper, and then just topped up with lemon, parsley, and oil. That dish has been on my menus over 30 years. And every single time I try and take it off the menu at Tartufo, this is every time, I have a revolution. It's like, come on, guys. I've been, so this spatchcock, I'm talking about even in Sydney. So that's, 30 whatever years ago. So Game Farm used to be in Richmond, gorgeous little farm. Now Game Farm Poultry now is massive. I don't even know if it's owned by the same people. I still remember driving out to Richmond in Sydney and going to have a look at this. And it's still the same. I still use the same, still think Game Farm spatchcock. And it sells, like it sells. Another one, I have a fettuccine with mixed mushrooms. So there's some beautiful cultivated mushrooms up here in Brisbane. Actually, they're just around the corner from us. It used to be, once upon a time, I used to use some wild mushrooms as well, but that's too dangerous. So I'm just going everything cultivated, but all different mushrooms. And basically, that one there, fettuccine with the mushrooms, and it's got some truffle paste, truffle oil through it, the tartufo, basically. Yes, I'd love to shave some fresh tartufo on it, but not at the price at the moment. But that's been one of my staples. Again, I can't take it off. And every time, if I ever do a cooking class, guys, what would you like to learn? Oh, no, the fettuccine. I said, come on, I'm sick, not sick of cooking it, but you know what I mean. And as an entree, my crudo carpaccio and tonnato, they can't go anywhere, especially the vitello tonnato. I mean, I do mine not the traditional way. I braise mine. So, and it's been like that for as far back as I can remember. And then my crudo and carpaccio, that hasn't changed. But again, that's Armando's dishes refined by me, and I make money out of them. That's all I do. So.
It's interesting you mentioned about listening to your customer and making sure they're happy and coming back. And then you have dishes that have lasted 30 years that you can't take off the menu. How do you feel about those dishes? They sound like they're so important for business, but are they sort of a source of frustration as well? How many spatchcocks have you cooked?
Oh, I would like to put a number on it. I think we do 3 to 4 boxes a week. Yeah, no, work it out over 30 years, and each box contains 12, I think. Yeah, no, it's ridiculous. I should do a sum. I'll do an approximate one day. Yeah, look, all those dishes, but can I be honest with you? I'm a creature of habit. When I eat out similar or same dishes every time. I got a beautiful restaurant down here, Labat, and I've probably heard of it. It's gorgeous restaurant, and we used to go there every week. And every single week, it was like I wanted the prawns with the capers and the butter. Then he took it off the menu, and I said, "Alex, what are you doing to me?" And he said, "Oh, Tony." I said, "No, what are you doing to me?" And then one day he sent me a message. He goes, "Oh, by the way, I got them back on the menu." I said, "Oh, thank you." And I think he still does them sometimes. So whenever I see it on Instagram, I'll book a table and I'll go there. You know what? It's a dish that I can do at my restaurant, but I don't want to do it at my restaurant. That's Alex's dish. If anybody puts dishes on of my restaurant, I take it as the greatest compliment of my life. But everybody will cook it differently, believe me. When you copy something, it's great, but it'll never be the original. So, and plus, there's some things that, that was Alex's dish. If I put it on, I'll think, oh my God, we share the same clientele. And I'll go, oh, I've got these gorgeous prawns. I had the same as Labat. You know what I mean? It's professional indemnity.
A bit earlier on, you mentioned about getting access to the right ingredients or produce and the challenges of that. What are things like now in Australia in regards to quality produce and the ingredients you need compared to, 30 years ago?
Unbelievable. Totally unbelievable. The things we can get at the moment, we can get everything. There's only a handful of things we can't get. Our produce here in Australia only the last 20 years is absolutely fantastic. Now, I'll be totally honest with you. I will try and use mostly Australian produce, but things like Parmigiano, prosciutto, and the tomatoes, the canned tomatoes, the peel tomato, Australia's nowhere near what Italy can produce. So, the Parmigiano, it's only Italian. The Australian Parmesan, no offense to whoever does it. Here, it is nowhere near as, and it stinks. Sorry. Sorry. I'm a nationalist, but a nationalist up to a point. But you know what I mean. And it's like even the extra virgin olive oil at the moment, I've been using Australian extra virgin olive oil. Yes, and I do have single vineyard Italian olive oil, which I do use on some dishes. But the produce we have in Australia, it's alive and well. The only problem in Australia is 2 things. They're vegetables, their tomatoes, and everything else. They pick it too early. They do not ripen it. It's the farming here is a little bit different than Italy. We have the Bow Desert region. We have are near Toowoomba. There is some amazing farms. There is some amazing products coming out of there, but everything is picked a little bit too early. Nothing is ripened, and especially the tomatoes. They could do some amazing things. There was a guy doing Noosa red tomatoes, and they were unbelievable. I don't think he's doing it anymore. There was another one, Cooper Shoot tomatoes, which were down in near Byron Bay. Unbelievable. But because I think the cost, we haven't seen those around anymore. So when it comes to produce, we have got unbelievable things. Meat and fish. Now, the meat is butchered, and then it's actually sold far too fresh. We need to leave it in. And there's a lot of times, I get some of the meat We will open it up and we will leave it for an extra week. I don't have any drying fridges for meats, but in the cool rooms, I can't leave it. It's actually too fresh. It's got to be hung a little bit. So that's the only other problem. We've got the produce in Australia. We've got some of the best meats in the world, comparable to the American, to the South American, to the Italian chianine from the top. We've got it here, but it's far too fresh when it comes out. Fish, we've got a lot of fish here. Logically, it's not the Mediterranean, it's not the Adriatic. The closest thing to the Mediterranean fish is Western Australia. I think it's the warm waters of the Indian Ocean. That basically, they got the most amazing octopus, the scampi, some of the beautiful mackerels, and then you go down south, the whiting from South Australia, Tasmania, the cold waters. Then you come up here, the most gorgeous reef fish in the world. But this is not Italy, this is not Sweden, this is not England, the guna, the monkfish. There is a difference, but we still have similar fish and beautiful, beautiful fish. The only thing, and again, not speaking out of school, these farmed fishes, I'm a little bit over it, I'm sorry. This trend of the farm fishes, yes, they're whatever, but no, give me a line-caught fish. Give me a happy fish. You know what I mean? Honestly, and I mean that. Give them a chance. And then I have a quail, Brisbane Valley Protein, which is at the bottom of Lake Wivenhoe. Beautiful farm. Some of the most amazing, juicy quails. We have a standard order in every 2 weeks. It's again, the produce. It's I don't know how they fatten them, but it's nice, it's clean, it's happy quails, for God's sake, And then the organic farming in Australia, the last 5 years has really taken a big change. I've got some beautiful organic farmers, which supply us with a lot of things. There is a particular bioorganic farm, which I can get a capsicum, which is very similar to one that it comes from, basically the parts of Campania near Naples. And whenever I get those capsicum from this bioorganic farm at the farmers markets up here, I basically simply stuff it with some sausage inside, a little bit of vegetables, and bake it. And the aroma, this is not for the restaurant, by the way, this is for home and my guests. So, when it comes to produce, Anthony, we have almost, and I mean almost everything here in Australia. Yes, of course, there's things like, the vongole, there's things, some of the calamari species, there is things like, we've got sardines here, but for some reason they don't sell them, they don't farm, or they don't sell them, they don't produce, they process them in machines. So there's little things, if we can just get small producers to do a little bit of different work, then we would definitely be in heaven. So we've got the climate, we've got the beautiful, we've got everybody here. So let's try and do it.
You've had quite a few restaurants that have had success, but also longevity as well. What sort of advice would you have for people out there that have maybe started a restaurant or looking to do that, to have that longevity and have the business last a long time?
Start your restaurant. The biggest problem with restaurants is they will start a restaurant and they will go, I'm going to start getting busy, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to pay the GST, the taxes, and everything else. Make sure you got starting capital. Nobody has starting capital. And I mean that, everything. So make sure you've got your starting capital. Make sure that you're going to have 2 years of starting capital. Keep it in the bank, do whatever you like, but it's got to be there. Yes, lease your fridges and whatever. There is a lot of things around which, you might think that instead of leasing, you rent it. It's a tax deduction. Be careful of those things. There is beautiful leases from the banks. Then eventually you own it. You can, that's it. There's a number of things, but I think the most important thing is make sure you put everything on paper. If it makes sense on paper, it will make sense on business. Do your projection of forecasts of funds, like have a look every 3 months. Don't look at daily, People look at things and go, oh my God, I only took in $2,000 today. Well, that doesn't say anything about your projected forecast or anything else. Do not look at daily. Look at things quarterly, monthly, break it down. If you don't reach your markets, just make sure that you do. Look, I've been in business a long time and I made a mistake 3 years ago. Prices of everything was going through the roof. I was about a year late putting up my prices in my restaurant, and I'm paying the price now. You've got to look at your percentages. And apart from that, the biggest advice that I can give: design your restaurant, design your menu, design your bar, design anything you like. You are the owner, and you are the one that can sell that product. Stop going to other places trying to imitate. Oh, he does a good tapas. I'm going to do tapas. He does a good pizza. I'm going to do pizza. Stop trying. You've got to believe in your product. You're the salesman of your own product. And if ever you have a quiet night, this is one thing that my father taught me. If ever you have a quiet night, you close up the restaurant and you go home and you don't go around seeing what other restaurants are doing, because they might be having a quiet week as well like you, but they might be on that night, maybe they've got a function and it looks full, and then you're going to get depressed. I never see. And you know what? When I go out to restaurants, and this is quite serious now, I never look at their prices. I never look at it. I just order, enjoy myself. And then this client said, they go, oh, you're coming to have a look at your competition. It's like, no, I actually come here to do the same thing you're doing, enjoying myself. So that's the things. Your restaurant is your creation, and you're the only one that's going to sell it. You're the only salesman that's going to sell it. You and your staff. And train your staff. Treat your staff. They don't work for you. They work with you. I don't know if that helps, Anthony.
I think that's some amazing advice. You've had such an amazing influence in Sydney, the Gold Coast, and Brisbane. What do you love about what you do?
It's honestly, it's a passion. I love it. I actually love it. My day off, today I did say to my wife, only because yesterday we were on the road for 7 hours doing something stupid. But today I said to my wife, I said, I don't feel like cooking. But generally on my day off, I will cook. I will go out. I will get the ingredient. I will sit down. I love a dinner party. I love inviting people at my house. It's my life. It is. Look, I can't complain. I have honestly been blessed. And I'm not talking about money, Anthony. Yes, it's given me a lifestyle. It's given me a wage. And it's been that constant thing that I look through. So, I really can't complain. But also I love it. And I can see it from my brother Armando. He retired not long ago. I think he was 72 when he retired. And still to today, I ring him up, for advice and whatever. And it's like, what are you cooking? I say, oh, I'm cooking this, Armando. What are you cooking? Oh, I'm doing this and this and this and that. It stays with you, and of course, there's a lot of people that open up restaurants. They're businessmen, and it is a business, and yet good on them. That's what they do. But to me, it's my love. It's generational. It's 4 generations that we've been doing this, and food is. I was brought up in a different era, where we used to eat all of us together at the table. And then when you finished eating, you could get up and go and play. Totally different era. And it was that, and, even with Dad, having dinner parties at his house, we were all together. It's a way of life. You have a conversation, you eat, you drink, and it's life. It's a celebration of life. We have a short one. Let's celebrate it.
Well, Tony, I know there's so much more we can talk about, but an absolute honour to have you on Deep in the Weeds today. Please keep in touch, and we'll have to catch up again soon.
No, I look forward to it. And thank you very much, Anthony, and have a great week.
This is the Deep in the Weeds podcast. I'm Anthony Huckstep. Stay tuned as we take a deep dive into the lives of the incredible people who ply their trade in the food and hospitality sector. Special thanks to executive producer Rob Locke for making this all happen. Follow us on Instagram at Deep in the Weeds Podcast, or email us at podcast@deepintheweeds.com.au. Stay safe and be well.